Now the next thing that we're going to prepare on this bike is the fork. Now if you got all the original packing material and packing junk with the bike box, you may have something in there like this. This is a reinforcement piece. It's rigid plastic. It just simply goes on the fork like so. And it basically just provides protection in case something gets stacked on the box. If it's laid down sideways, it protects the fork from being crushed together, the fork legs from being crushed together like that. If you don't have one of these, don't panic. You can still do a decent packing job without it, but if you have one, I would highly recommend using it. Also, if you're doing a packing job which requires that you remove the rear wheel from the bike, you'll also need one of those for the rear end of the frame, although it's going to need to be a little bit longer than that. Okay, we're at the step now where we are going to put this bike in the box. In our last step, we protected the fork by putting a plastic block spacer in the end of the fork legs. This is another step that I always do that helps coincide with that. I'll take a small cardboard box like this one. This is a perfect size actually. And just kind of, one that hasn't been opened up. Bend all the flaps over and everything and fold it over into an L shape. And just drop that in the front of the box or one end. And that serves as some extra protection for the fork. It makes like a pocket that the fork is going to sit in. Now, with the handlebars still hanging, we're going to go ahead and take this bike, kind of hold the handlebars up with one hand, and just drop it into the box like that. You can see how the bike fit in there nice and neatly, front wheel tucked away. And you can see how the fork fit in that cardboard pocket that I made. Handlebar is still on the outside, which we're going to get to next. Okay, so I've gone ahead and moved the handlebar into position, and I've gone ahead and secured it to the top tube of the bike's frame with zip ties, so it can't move around and scratch up the bike or cause any damage. Now, one other thing that you should have gotten if you got all the original packaging material and packaging junk with the bike box itself is one of these, or probably more than one of these, plastic discs. What this is for is I'm going to go ahead and place this right in the end of the axle of the front wheel. That's so that the end of the axle does not poke through the cardboard box, and it's possible that without that, if it did poke through and the box fell over on its side and it got, drug across the ground, it could end up damaging the end of the axle. So always put a disc on the outside of the wheel. Don't really need one on the inside, on the inside here, because that's not going to be pressing up against anything, but the outside is pretty important to protect the box and the axle itself. Okay, we're almost done. The only thing we have left is to put the seat and these small parts in with the bike and seal the box up, and then it is ready to go. Okay, I've gone ahead and dropped the pedals in this little box. I've put the small loose parts, the headset parts, in a Ziploc bag. Go ahead and drop those in there. Quick release skewer and the bar ends. And we'll just seal this up and drop it in with the box of the bike. Alright, all the small parts are in here, and I'm just going to go ahead and drop those in there like that. And that leaves us with one last thing to do, and that is the seat. Okay, once again, if you've got all the packaging material that was originally with the bike box, you may have gotten a piece of cardboard that looks like that, or this rather. That is simply to put over and protect the seat. I'm going to go ahead and tape that on. Of course, this is an optional step, but it does look kind of good to the recipient that you took the extra step to protect stuff like that, especially if the bike has a white seat that could get dirty. I've gone ahead and put the seat at the back of the box, as you see here. I've wrapped the seat post with paper, and I've gone ahead and zip tied the seat post to the back wheel. That way it can't move around in transit and, get tangled up in the wheel spokes or ding or scratch anything on the bike. This packing job is almost done. The only thing that remains is to close up and seal up the box. One final thing I always do when I'm taping up the box is I'll go all the way around it with the tape, like as though to make a belt, like this. The reason I do that is sometimes the tape doesn't really stick to the cardboard as well as it should. And in case it comes undone, it's got a strong plastic belt that will go all the way around the box because the tape will stick to itself quite nicely. And that's it. This bike is ready to be shipped. A few final comments. Here in the US, FedEx Ground is usually going to be your least expensive shipping option for a package of this weight and size. It'll reach its destination usually in 5 business days or less, depending on the location. UPS is more expensive. I haven't used them in a while. I know they used to charge an additional fee for shipping bicycles, which to me was ridiculous, so I've stayed away from those guys for quite a long time. United States Postal is also another viable option sometimes. They can be a little bit more expensive. Again, depending on the location, they might be a viable option as well, the location that you're shipping to. Keep in mind that USPS has size limitations on the packages that you can send. Domestic delivery, their size limitation is 130 inches, which means that's the length of the box plus the girth all the way around it. That cannot exceed 130 inches. They won't take it if it does. For international shipping, their size limitation is 108 inches. I will say that USPS is going to be your best bet for international shipping. Keep in mind, to ship a bike anywhere overseas, it's going to cost a fortune.